May the words of my mouth and thoughts of my heart be acceptable before you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Shalom all, and welcome to our classes here at KosherTorah.com. I'm, of course, your host, Ariel Tzadok. We are learning in a very popular, famous Hebrew text from the, I think it's the early mid-1600s, called Hesed Avraham, from a Rabbi Avraham Azulai of the city of Hebron in the Holy Land. Very interesting compendium of mystical, secret teachings from the Old and the New. We've discussed more about the book in our previous classes in this series, specifically on the secrets of the Magid spirit guides and the secrets of prophecy. Technically, our class now is part 3, or a continuation along those same lines. In the text, we are in a section called Ma'ayin Chamishi, Ayin Mishpat, from Nahar Kaf Zayin, which in Hebrew it says Leva'er Soda Karuz Ha'elyon, B'sichat Ha'ofot, which is translated from section 5, subsection 25, the secrets of the supernal proclamation and the chattering or chirping of birds. Now, I've shared with many of you in other classes about my little birdie. For those of you who are familiar with my icon on KosherTorah.com, you see my little blue bird. And I've shared with you this story about my little blue bird, and I'll share it again quickly just to review. One beautiful day, the door of my house was opened, and this little blue bird just went flying into my living room and sat on my bookshelf. And I said, "Oh, will you look at that? Normally birds are not that bold." Well, this birdie was. I went up to him. He didn't budge. I put out my finger for him, and he went and climbed on my finger. And I said, "Hello, birdie." And the birdie went chirp, chirp. I said, "Nice to meet you." And I said, "You know, you're so pretty. I want to take your picture. Do you mind?" He said, "Chirp, chirp." No, I'm not kidding. I really went like this. And I took him and I put him outside on the post of my porch. I went and got my camera, and he was still there. And I took a whole bunch of little shots of him. He went chirp, chirp, and flew away. That's my little birdie. What were all those chirp chirps about? Ha ha ha, wouldn't you like to know? And judging after tonight's class, maybe you will. So, that's actually a true story. Very unusual for a wild bird to act in such a tame way, but it did. And that's my little birdie. So, that's my little icon. And that's the little birdie who, as you will symbolically say, whispers in my ear all kinds of fun stuff. And you never know now, do we? You see, what we're about to learn is actually based upon a verse in Scripture. A verse in Scripture found in Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, in the 10th chapter, the 20th verse, which states, alright? I'll read it to you in English. You can go look up the Hebrew if you want to. It states, even in your thought, the Hebrew word is b'ma'adacha, alright? In your medan, your knowledge, and your inner thoughts, which is also, alright, well, whatever. I was going to give you more grammatical understandings of the words, but we don't have to go there. Even in your thought, you shall not curse a king. Alright, it says, don't curse a king. Nor in your bedroom, do not curse the wealthy, because a bird of heaven shall carry the voice, and the winged creatures will tell the matter. Now, many people might interpret this in some symbolic fashion, a word of wisdom, not to speak negative things and the like, and of course, that's true too. But there's much more to it. Now, we've discussed in our previous classes and a point which is vital for us to understand. As I've shared with you in many a previous class, religion, for the most part as we understand it today, really is what Karl Marx, the Communist Manifesto guy, stated. Really is an opium for the masses. It's like a drug. It dulls people's minds. It's a bait and switch from the truth. Rabbi Chaim Vital, the famous Kabbalist, also speaks of surface-level religion, which he calls pshat. And throughout his writings, he calls that level of religion the shivcha lifnei matronita, or the maidservant before the mistress of the house. Or in other words, it's not the real deal. Now, of course, for the rank and file of people, we are obligated religiously to observe the statutes of our religion. No one will ever tell you against that, because that, or I should say, those are the commandments of God. God says we do, this is what we do. But there's always more to just the physical. Look at yourself in the mirror. Isn't there more than what you see in the mirror? Gee, I certainly hope so. You're going to pay so much attention to your appearance. Do you pay so much attention to your inner physical appearance? In other words, how healthy are you? Are you watching your diet? Are you toning your muscles? Are you feeding your brain? Are you giving yourself proper nutrition? We can go on and on with inner things. And let's not stop there. Because we all know there's much more to our human reality than just the physical body. How about properly maintaining the health of your emotions? Properly feeding your mind. All of these things are real, are they not? I don't think modern science can take a scalpel, open you up, and extract your emotions, your thoughts, your mind. Oh, they can pick apart this and that part of your brain, but those aren't your emotions or your thoughts, even though it might be the parts of the brain that allow you to manifest or materialize them. They might be closing the door, but they're not taking away what's inside or behind the door. No, modern science can't touch that. Because what we're dealing with when we talk about emotions, thoughts, the reality of our human experience, like the reality of all existence, Einstein got it right. Energy is matter. Matter is energy. All the universe, everything in reality is energy. And energy isn't just some nebulous blob of a blah. It functions in accordance to its own natural law. There is energy everywhere in the universe. Indeed, one of the ways science was able to the best possible way, verify, if you will, what's called the theory of the Big Bang, is that there was needed to be found, if you will, the residual echo, or the sound of the Big Bang. And they found it. There is this radio frequency going everywhere in the universe. Energy. It's everywhere. It's everything. You are energy. When you look in the mirror, though you want to see a pretty face, put your makeup on or straighten your tie and look good, what superficial nonsense. Every cell in your body is energy, and it is operating according to the natural laws of the universe. Well, guess what? Your emotions are energy and operate in accordance to the natural laws of the universe. Your mind is energy and operates in accordance to the natural laws of the universe. and has been shown even in modern science. And I begged you, please, go on to Amazon.com through KosherTorah. Go to their MP3 downloads of the movies and TV. Find the science program Through the Wormhole Season 2. I believe it's Episode 5, where it's the secrets of the sixth sense. And they show now the scientific evidence to show our collective mind. That which Carl Jung spoke about in psychology, which he called the collective unconscious. Right? The ultimate mind. We are all interconnected for one reason. We are energy. Brainwaves. You know it. You understand it. Everything is energy. Everything, and therefore follows the natural laws of the universe. Oh, in our religion, we have a special word for these natural laws of energy in the universe. What do we call that? I forgot. Oh, what is it? Oh, that's right. Torah. Torah. It's divine instruction. The cosmic Torah. The universal Torah. In Judaism, our religion, we refer to the rituals that we observe as halakha, which means the way to go. The way to go for our religion is defined by how we practice ritual. But there is halakha of the universe. There is halakha, the way to go of nature, nature's laws. These are the universal constants. This is the cosmic Torah. The Chinese understood this when they had a concept which they called the Tao. And I know a lot of the religious extremists don't like me bringing in comparative religions. But you want to know something? Shut up. Because the truth needs to be told. And as we're going to learn as we read now in Hesed Avraham, he's going to tell us about that truth. So my validation for teaching and making cross comparisons right here in the section we're going to learn in a few moments. With these basic understandings, know and recognize that the way of God, the cosmic natural path, the cosmic halakha, the Tao as the Chinese would call it, the halakha as we would call it, is everywhere in everything. And if you seek it, you will find it. If you are quiet, you will hear it. If you are still, you will sense it. Because, like the words of Isaiah say, Melo kol haaretz kavodo, the whole world is full of God's glory. The birds, masters of wings, they'll tell you. What kind of talk is that, the birds? Well, I said the little birdie told me, but come on, that's a metaphor, isn't it? I mean, really, can I really learn something from the chirpings of the birds? Alright, you might think that I'm a bird brain because I'm talking to the birds. Tweet, tweet, tweet. But maybe there's something more. There's an old teachings that's recorded in ancient times that King Solomon, like the character Dr. Dolittle, would talk to the animals. Do you really think King Solomon would sit on his throne and have a dog there and go woof woof woof? And the dog would go bow wow wow woof woof. And then the cat would come by and go meow meow. Or the cow goes moo. What is this? What does the fox say song? No. But he was able to sense their energy. He was able to interpret their vibrations. And therefore understand the cosmic halakha, the natural way. Because it does follow the natural order of the universe. Yes. Isaac Newton had it right. To a point, as he could best understand it. the world does operate mechanically. But unfortunate for Mr. Newton, he lived in the 1600s, in which the limits of his imagination limited his understanding and insight of how the mechanics operated. Wouldn't it be grand for him if he could be alive today in the 21st century and see what 500 years, or actually 400 years of development have been able to bring to expand his mind in understanding the mechanics of the universe? When we study the Torah of the Ariel, and he speaks of for lack of the term in Hebrew is Seder Hishtalshelut. I've always translated that as spiritual evolution. And for those of you who have gone through my Ultra Chaim series, or braved to go deeper into the Etz Chaim works, you know the Reb Chaim, the author, outlines a very involved technical relationship of all these, in quote, mechanical parts, and I use the word mechanical to say they all interact with one another, of the order of the parallel dimensions of all the universes. That is our world's olamot of energy. And we exist in every single one in a way, at a time. Everything is interconnected with everything else. That is the truth of science and the universe. And with that introduction, let me now share with you the words of Rabbi Azulai. Again, I'm reading to you from the 5th section, section 20, subsection 27. No. Ki kol ma shenigzar lamala, machrizin oto biprat b'olam ha'asiyah. Everything that is ordained above is proclaimed specifically in this lower world. Aval metzad obi ha'avir einu nishma. However, from the thickness of the atmosphere, it is not heard. What is he saying? That everything above emanates, radiates, and vibrates below. Everything below vibrates above. These are the secrets of what we call in the language of the Kabbalah female waters by nukbin man, and masculine waters by duchrein mad. Energy from below ascends into the ethereal dimensions above, which influences how that energy then from above flows below. And therefore, with the nature of the reciprocity, that's what we call this heavenly proclamation. What we send up echoes back and comes back below. That's called the heavenly proclamation. And it echoes throughout our physical domain. This shouldn't surprise any of you. For those of you who are familiar with a very traditional Judaic teaching from Pirkei Avot, sayings of our fathers, it states that every day a voice cries forth from Mount Sinai, saying, "Woe to the world for the disgrace shown to the Torah." Rabbi Yosef Chaim, the famous Ben Ish Chai of Baghdad, writes, he states in his commentary to Pirkei Avot, wait a second. We know where Mount Sinai is. People go there. No one's hearing any voices coming out of the ground. And he goes, it's not a physical voice. It's a voice that's heard in your heart. Well, we have a different term to describe voices of the heart today. We call that telepathy. Psychic communication, clairvoyance, the likes of which modern science now shows can and does happen. So therefore, if you want to have your pulse on what's happening, you can sense it right in the air. Omnam, כשהעופות פורחים דרך הפרחתם ועפיפתם, הם הותחין האוויר וחולקים אותו. Birds, when they're flying in the air with their wings flapping, they're literally, it says here, he's cutting the air and dividing it, which means he's sending vibrations in the air. Ve'az hakol hakaruz over sham. And thereby, that which we call the voice of the heavenly proclamation is, if you will, vibrated. And it picks up vibration. Almost like, if you will, the reflection of sound waves. And therefore, when birds fly by, whether it's in the chirpings of their chirps or in the flapping of their wings, they're causing movements. Movements in energies, not necessarily physically seen or detectable, but psychically and intuitively sensed. So therefore, if you watch or sense birds, you might just get a premonition, a feeling. This means something. There are those who are trained, who can be and who are sensitive, and can understand, sometimes even in detail, what those vibrations actually mean. Now there's a big, long, involved teaching with that, but I'm not going to get into that right now, because it's too involved to teach in the limited time that we have. And he says, Al derech diboram v'tziptzupsam nitztaref kol hakaruz. By the way of the chirping and the flapping of the wings, that's how these things are understood. Kol ha'avirot she'adam over, kulam nichrazot al yedei bet din achad. All the sins that people do are proclaimed by the heavenly court. The shiliach bet din ehad ha'olech imehem. And it says here, a messenger of the heavenly court goes along with them. Alright? But because of what's called the thickness of the air, it's not heard. Now let's understand what this means. It's not like you have an invisible angel who's going out there and says, look, John did bad. No. But it means that your energy, my energy, the energy that is emanating right this moment from our emotions, from our thoughts, all the more so from our deeds, it radiates from us. And we can't hide that. This is the kind of thing that becomes aware in Carillion photography. It's an electromagnetic field. Supposedly it's got colors. And the colors are readable to understand things. There are no secrets at this level. Nothing. You literally are radiating your aura. Alright? This is what is called in the language of the Kabbalah your or makif. Alright? It's the surrounding light around you. Depending on what you got is where you're at. Now that energy radiates out from you into the universe, bounces off into the air, and reflects back off of the vibrational energies out there, and it can be picked up like a radio station by anybody who wants to visualize or think about or feel you. That is how psychic intuitions work. So if I am now going to think about any of you, if I have an image of you in my mind, all I got to do is think about your face. And all of a sudden in my mind, my imagination is going to start to run wild. I can see us having a dialogue. I can see you doing things. I can see the kind of clothing you're wearing. None of it might be literal. But it's giving me insights about you, your personality, your nature, and maybe somehow, somewhere, something's going to pop into my mind that says, you're thinking like this or you're feeling like that. And after, most likely, years of testing and trials, you get to fine-tune this. And that is how psychic intuition works. That's how you're able to psychically read somebody. That is what the great and holy Kabbalists and masters from all other walks of faith around the world are able to do. When they gaze at somebody and they're able to read their souls like a book. And he states, continuing, V'zeh sod ki of hashemayim yolichet hakol. Quoting our verse from Kohelet, he says, this is the secret when it states in Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, right, that the birds of heaven pass on the voice. Ki mitarev kolo im kol hakaruz, v'alidei zeh hu molich et hakol. And it's the voice or the chirping of the birds that becomes combined with the energy that is radiating around him, and therefore he's called the passing on, a molich, one who passes on this voice. V'keneged elamim, and those birds which aren't chirping, but if you will, just flapping their wings, that's the next one. It says the master of wings. That's the bird that doesn't make any specific chirps, but yet the flapping of the wings is what tells the thing. And he states, Ki kol haggadah zo beremes ubachashai v'kvi tinuot afifatan nikar kol akaros. All of these, the word here is haggadah, which means telling, but we'll say revelations, are hinted to. They're like little secrets, right? Little concealments. And based upon the fluttering of the wings, that is how you can tell what's called the heavenly proclamation. These two things together are how we understand things. The flapping of the wings or the chirping of the birds. This is important to understand because this is the natural way and order of how this stuff works. Rabbi Azulai goes and gives a number of details of things which I'm going to skip because I don't think they're relevant to what I want to teach right now. But he continues and he states that there are certain types of birds who are able to, or whose sounds specifically give warning to things about like famine or plague or locusts. There are others which are specific as good signs and the like. There are other things which are all detailed, and the ones that are flapping their wings instead of chirping, all right, they speak about specific things and the like. The details of these things I won't say for one reason. Because once I give details, I lock into your mind what you will think is an equation. This equals that. And it never does. How many of you know math? You know there's the equation sign, right? X equals 7. Therefore, X has to be 7, right? So therefore, you have the two lines one on top of the other. That's an equal sign. That is what we call in Kabbalah din. Din means judgment, severity, limitation. That blocks and locks a reality, which doesn't have to be. For those of you who study your math, instead of having the two straight lines which has equal, there's another thing which is two wavy lines. Do you know what the wavy lines mean? It means equivalent to, which means it's kind of like but not exact. Approximate, that correct. That is what you must understand. That's why I don't want to give you specific details. I don't want to lock you in. So if you hear a specific bird, well, you think you understand it? Fine. Let's hear what you got to say. You're either going to be right or you're going to be wrong. And if you're wrong, then you ask yourself, how was I wrong? Why was I wrong? What was I sensing that was wrong? And you learn from it. It's kind of like going to the gym. All right? You know, I've been a bodybuilder for many, many years. And I know what it's like to lift weights right. And boy, oh boy, I know what it's like to lift weights wrong. You ever lift something, you go, ow, oh, that was too much. You learn from your mistakes. Well, we all make mistakes. How many of us, when we practice martial arts, hit something a little too hard, and instead of breaking that cement block, might break a knuckle or two? Ouch! Those things happen. You learn. I remember, subtle little story came to mind, so I'll tell it to you. I've been studying martial arts since I was 11 years old. Since my mid-teens, I've been doing Chinese martial arts and been with them all my life. 40 plus years now. And for many, many years, in my teenage years, going through my 20s, before I went to Israel and when I came back, I was doing, my traditional Southern style Shaolin traditions, and in all due respect, as a young man in those days, I wasn't so bad. But then I made a shift, and I went to start studying the soft styles, Bagua Chuan, Tai Chi Chuan, and the rest. And I had this teacher who was this little roly-poly guy. Couldn't have been more than 5'1", 5'2". He was a big fat guy, too. Didn't look like anything that, could do anything. He was from mainland China. He spoke broken English. And any time before he gave us a lesson in Bagua Chuan, he would teach us from the Tao Te Ching and the I Ching. It was all in Chinese and in broken English, but profound wisdom. And when he went to test me, he said, okay, let's see what you can do. And in all due respect, I was at my peak. I was pretty good. I mean, literally, I don't mean to toot my horn, but in my younger years, it was not hard for me to literally put my foot through a brick wall. And I've done that. All right? So, that was good. So here I am at the mats, this little 5'1", 5'2" guy. I'm taller than him. I'm quicker than him. So I thought. And he says, hit me. So, went out to hit him. He bounced out of the way. So I went to hit again. Without raising a hand, without blocking me, he just bounced out of the way. I was getting frustrated. So I went at him with everything I had. Punches, kicks, sweeps, everything, right? Roundhouse, back, everything. Boom, 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 boom. Did you ever see one of these blow-up toys in the water? You try to push it under the water, bobbles out of the way? That's what he was like. Master Chen literally just bobbled out of the way. Literally, it was almost nonchalant. Many of you might, if you're familiar with an image from a movie called The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, at the end of the movie, after Keanu Reeves realizes that he's in the Matrix, the evil Agent Smith comes at him with super kung fu, and he starts blocking him at super speed, and then he turns away as if boring, and he's blocking him with just one hand, and the guy's getting frustrated. That's if you see that movie or see that scene, you'll understand the frustration I had with Master Chan. I couldn't touch him. And he wasn't blocking me. He was making no effort whatsoever. He was just bouncing all around me. And finally I stopped and I said, What are you doing? How are you doing that? And he looked at me and he smiled and says, now let me show you something. In 15 minutes, he showed me subtle little nuances of how to step a little differently, how to throw my hand at a slightly different angle. And in 15 minutes, he corrected 15 years of practice. Like that. I give you this example to emphasize to you that when it comes to cultivating the powers of the mind and the heart, psychic abilities, it works just like this. You have to practice and practice and practice, and then you gain subtle corrections. These are the nuances of expanded consciousness. This is why I teach the courses in meditation in levels that I do here at KosherTorah. So don't think that by magic you're going to start to recite this or that holy name and poof, all of a sudden magic is going to happen. No. It requires work and effort on the inner plane. And as you make that work and effort, you will become sensitive. You'll hear the chirpings of birds or the flappings of their wings, and you'll suspect and feel and know that it means something, maybe without even understanding it. But as your subtleness knows, it'll start to click. Listen to this. Da. Remember I was mentioning to you earlier about my source from taking from sources around the world? Here you go. After the burning of the Sefer Torah in the time of the destruction of the Holy Temple, Nimsiru sodoteha v'kocha b'yad haklipot b'avanot. All of the secrets of the Torah, alright, and all of its powers have been passed, it says here, into the klipot, into the outer husks and shells of the world. V'lachen kol nivra be'olam afilu atamiim shekatzim ramazim Modi'im eze davar. Every created thing in the world, even unclean things, teach us, reveal to us, proclaim something. Ki asarim ha'mamunim aleim yod'im kohot v'sodot HaTorah. Because the princes, the spiritual entities above that rule and dominate over them, they know now the powers and the secrets of the Torah. V'mi sheyavin tzavtzovtzei ha'nivraim yachol lavin sodot HaTorah. And the one who therefore understands what you will live, the chirping of all the creation, is able to understand the secrets of the Torah. Because you see, the secrets of the Torah now are scattered. This is called the exile of the Torah. It is found everywhere. And part of our obligations, according to the Kabbalah of the Ariel, is to gather the sparks of holiness that have been scattered everywhere. That's called aliyat harafach. It's a very integral part of our pillar of fire, Kabbalistic Jigong meditation. The gathering of the sparks means to gather in truth from wherever it is to be found. So if you discover truth in the religions of the world, and you will, in every religion there is truth, then acknowledge it, accept it, gather the sparks. You are performing a tremendous mitzvah. And somebody's asking, well, once they're gathered, what do we do with them? You learn from them and integrate. You come to recognize truth for what it is, and then allow truth to guide your actions, your emotions, your thoughts, to greater practice in bringing light, wisdom, enlightenment, balance and harmony to our world, in correlation with and harmony with all the upper dimensions and planes. That is what this is all about. That is the true definition of kosher Torah. Continuing, he states also, "Lefamim mitzad neshamot hamilgulgulim me'otam ebriut." Sometimes you even have reincarnated souls in all of these different creatures. Vehem hayu yodot batchila. They knew these things right from the beginning. Lefamim neshmat tzadik mi'olam elyon mitlabesh b'oto tzorah. Sometimes you will have the soul of a righteous one from the higher worlds come down and take the form of something in nature. V'da ki afilu shekatzim behemot v'ramezim ketanim gedolim kulam etzoyim b'makom adam lagid lehem pish'am b'korotam. Everything, whether it's the most insignificant insects and creatures, clean or unclean, big or small, anything that's found in our environment around us is here to teach us something. To tell us about ourselves, to tell us about something. And yes, it is all to bring back the singularity. Like we say, Malo kala aretz kabodo. The whole world is full of God's glory. And when we therefore seek it everywhere, you hear me talking about living Torah, how we find Torah everywhere in the universe around us. If you're stuck in a traffic jam and you have no books, no MP3 downloads from KosherTorah, tisk, you can learn from just watching everything. Well, pay attention to your breathing. Everything and everywhere around you is an exercise, because God is in everything, everywhere. Find it. Find Him. And now I want to continue. In actually the section prior to the one we just read, section 26, which is called The Secret of the Messengers of the Supernal Judgment. Because now we just read about how the emanations emanate into the world. Well, now we learned how to sense them. But once you have sensed them, now what? Well, listen. Da. שהעולם הזה מרכבה לכל העליון הרוחני. This world of ours is called a chariot, a throne. The bottom rung of the ladder. Everything channels down here from all the upper dimensional planes. It's like the great circle. It's no coincidence that for those who truly understand what's called in the Kabbalah the igulim, this concentric circles, how it is very uncanny similar to what's referred to by the Chinese as the yin and the yang. Everything is in harmony. Everything flows cyclically. If there is a dominance of mercy in the world, then all the powers below will be emissaries of mercy. And if there is this predominance of this Hesed mercy energy, then everything will radiate this Hesed energy and will bounce off and reflect and influence everything everywhere. Great stuff. However, however, if the scales are tipped and evil predominates in the world, judgment predominates, severity dominates because of the wickedness of the evil. יתפשט הדין בעולם, וכל העולם יתמלא מהדין, ופועלים הדין ברצון ובאונס. The world will be dominated by an energy field of severity and judgment, and everything will therefore become emissaries of judgment, whether intentionally or unintentionally. As it states, Dechar Sharia Dina Ba'alma, Sharia Al Kula. If judgment is predominant in the world, it will predominate everywhere over everyone. Energy. And that is the truth of the matter. If you are in the world, you are subject to a world full of negative energy, well, guess what? You are not going to escape it. I tell people to get as far away from the centers of negative energy, but no one listens. I tell you, get out of urban areas. Urban areas, because they are such unnatural forms of living, are the greatest sources of concentrated negative energy. And I don't know anybody who's ever been to an urban area who doesn't feel it. And I'm not talking about big cities like New York, Chicago, or LA. You all know it there. But you can go into even good cities with good energy and go into bad neighborhoods and you just sense the energy. That energy is not make-believe. Those, in quote, vibes are real. Energy follows its own laws. Positive, negative. Black or white. Ma and Ben, as we call it in Kabbalah. You want to call it yin and yang, so be it. And therefore, when one energy predominates over the other, if it's mercy, great, then the whole world emanates in mercy. An example, in the 1700s, you had a profound time of some of the greatest thinkers, all in the same time. The Baal Shem Tov was founding the Hasidic movement. The Gaon of Vilna was planning the movement to rebuild the Holy Land. And at the same time, ballpark, within 100 years or so, you had the great philosophers, the Western philosophers, Rousseau, Locke. We're talking about the unalienable rights of individuals. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, bringing freedom in a small little set of British colonies, which then later became the great superpower of the U.S. And here we are today, centuries later, and look at the energy today. It's becoming narrower and narrower. It's becoming more violent, more extreme. This is the energy of the din. And he continues and he states, Ya'aseh din mine mikra'im, ba'avanim u'be'etzim, v'kol pega u'michshol. Judgment, therefore, will emanate even from things like rocks, or from wood, trees, any kind of blemish, any kind of stumbling. The behema, b'chaya, b'of, u'b'bnei adam, b'umot, kol minehem, u'b'Yisrael rashaim. Everything becomes agents of negativity. Whether they're animals, or birds, or people, whether they're people from the nations, from Israel, doesn't matter. Quotes here from the Talmud, Chova al yedei hachayav, which would translate, if you will, the Chova, which actually would translate as, should I translate Chova? The obligation, or the guilty, all right, comes from the wicked, all right, from the Chayav, the one who's guilty. The guilt comes from the guilty. Negative energy comes from negative people. And you're going to find more judgment in places where the judgment is. And he specifically makes a reference to the marketplace. And he references the words of our sages from Tractate Berachot, that a person who goes into the marketplace, bad news. So what's marketplace? The public, an urban area, the crowd. There are always negative things in crowds. You ever go to a mall? Right? My wife hates going to malls. She calls it sensory overload with all of the sights and the sounds. She hates it. I can't blame her. Right? Noise. Distraction. Energy. And it's all about superficial things. Wasteful things. Now, if you got to go to the mall, so you got to buy something, well, I guess you got to go. I mean, that's something else. But is your mind strong enough to block out those influences? Remember we were talking about listening to the little birdie? Are you sensitive to the negative energies around? That is how you cultivate and become aware. Omnam b'shuk omdim lamtin sham al acharim v'agav orchayhu ya'avur sham echad v'yifga bo bedin. He says, in the shuk, the marketplace, the public domain where people gather, it's like waiting. Others are there waiting for you. That negativity is going to pass on from them and get you. Kinyana sela shaymazik b'derech. It's almost like having a stumbling block in your way. Somebody's asking here a question: does going to the ritual mikvah, immersion in water, help you? And the answer is yes and no. Just like with Yom Kippur. Do you believe in it? If you believe in it, it can help you. Do you not believe in it? If you don't believe in it, it won't help you. Because the power is not outside in the water. The power is inside in your mind. You can believe, and the power of your faith can transform the universe. Yes, faith is everything. The righteous live by their faith. That's actually a quote from the prophet Habakkuk. How important is that? Well, the rabbis in the Talmud, Tractate Makot, page 24, for those who want to look it up, say that the entire Torah can be summed up in those words. You want to sum up all the commandments? Tzadik be'emunato yechiyeh. The righteous live by faith. Faith is not a statement of your doctrinal beliefs or theology. It's not what you believe at all. It's how you live. It's what you do. It's your connection and your harmony with the vibrations and polarities of the energies that surround us. That is what it's all about. You see, the commandments of the Torah, the rituals of law, were given to us as forms and structures through which the energy, the positive energies from within, can manifest and materialize without. For those of you who are familiar again with martial arts, and you know the energy, the moving meditations called Qigong, you have movements of your hands and your feet and all this, and you're projecting energy. Well, why don't I just close my eyes and project energy? Why can't I do it just sitting still? Because you have a body. And the body projects the energy. And the body and the mind are one. So it's by the movement of the body that you're giving the energy in the mind vessel, vehicle, through which to materialize. For those of you who know your Kabbalah, this is the relationship of what we call atzmut, right? The essence, the kilim, the vessels. Ur, the kli, light and vessel. The two always go together. So therefore, that's why we have the rituals of the commandments. That's why we have to do things that we can do. We are literally, when we're observing our ritual commandments in Jewish practice, doing a Torah form of Qigong energy work. Because that's exactly what it's supposed to be. And like we teach in the Torah of the Ariel from the Shar Mitzvot class, if you don't have the inside going and operating along with the outside, you're not doing it right. The two have to be combined. But getting back now to this negative energy in our environment. Koach haruchani shel din mitlabesh b'geshem hahu omed b'parashat rachim b'shukim b'sham yodinu acherim. This energy of severity, of limitation, of negativity, will cloak itself in anything physical. And it says here, it stands on the crossroads, in the marketplaces, meaning the public way, right? So that it can tap onto others. So if you have negativity in you, you have an opening for, an attraction for negativity. And how's that? You practice negativity. If you have negative emotions, if you have negative thoughts, you will attract to yourself negative energy. And especially if you are in the clouds of negative energy, and boy oh boy, it's going to cling to you like a magnet. Many of you might have heard about the pollution today in cities like Beijing, China, where much the pollution is so bad, some people gotta wear like masks to try to keep the air out. Sometimes breathing the air can be, poisonous to one's health. People literally can die from breathing the air over there. It's so bad in some places. Well, you can die from the negative energy that surrounds you in the same way. You can't just say, well, I'll avoid it. I'll think differently. If you're in a place of negative energy, it's like in a place of bad air. It goes into you. Very hard to stay clean. Alright? O yamdu sham betelim shelo bo ba l'shlichut ela mahamat shenatan reshut litpashet hem mitpashetim b'kol olam. All of this negative powers, they don't just stand there. They go forth like messengers. Alright? And they can spread throughout the world. Anyone therefore who violates and is guilty, this negative energy blemishes them, hits them, smacks them. Like attracts like. Like again it says in Pirkei Avot, the reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. The punishment of a sin is another sin. Magnetic attraction. Mitzvah goreret mitzvah, avera goreret avera. That is the energetic reality of the universe. Keshe'amod adam b'baito, mitzvot mezuzah yishmarenu me'elu v'keyotze behem. For those who have the faith, the person who stays at his home, you have the mezuzah on the door, it will protect you, but it's only going to protect you from negative energy. It's not going to necessarily protect you from anything physically. That requires physical protection. So if you think that having a mezuzah on your door is going to defend you against a burglar. It's not. People have missiles on their doors, are burglarized all the time. Go get a burglar alarm, put a lock on your door. If bad guys come to the door, alright, mezuzah is not going to scare them away. But a 12-gauge shotgun might. If you're in an environment, in a place where you can legally own firearms, I highly recommend it. Right? Very, very important. World versus world. Everything in each and every dimensional plane. You're not going to block an incoming physical fist with the power of your mind. Sorry, you're not a Jedi Knight or a Sith Lord. In this world, you either bobble out of the way, like Master John would, or you block it. But you can't just say, be gone. You're not that powerful. It's not that yet. Yishmor shnei yanayim. Guard your eyes. Remember as it says in the portion about the tzitzit? Do not go astray after your eyes and your mind. After your heart that lead you astray. Nothing can enter into your mind and your heart other than first what enters into your eyes. Now, don't try to be like these ridiculous religious extremists condemned by the Talmud itself that put blinders on their eyes. That's ridiculous. Because it's not so much what your physical eye sees. It's what you allow your heart to register. So, the major issue today, of course, is with members of the opposite sex. There is a terrible illness today in many religious circles, Jewish, Muslim, and others, which is extremely anti-feminine, anti-woman, in which even the mere presence of a female makes people literally bend out of shape. They have such a perversion to sexuality that it comes out in the most twisted, disgusting forms. This is all negative. It's imbalanced. At the same time, in all due respect to gals, you shouldn't be going around with halter tops and bikinis and little shorty shorts, knowing very well how provocative such type of behavior and dress is. We are all responsible. And energy is everything. Don't go around thumping your breast and stomping your hand saying, I have the right to do whatever I want. Sure you do. You do whatever you want. You want to be a stumbling block? Go ahead. But, gals, guys, if you attract to yourself unwanted energy, don't be surprised when you get it. How many times does a woman dress, or a guy for that matter, dress to kill, to really look hot and sexy, to really draw attention? And then they get that attention, sometimes unwantedly so. And then they're upset about it. Well, duh! Whatever happened to our equation? Our equivalent sign or our equal sign? These things just happen like that. Be careful. Don't let others blemish you, and don't you blemish them. Because this is what happens. This is the wrath of God. So if you protect yourself, you will not therefore become a blemish to others. And when you protect yourself, you can therefore protect others from being a blemish on you. If you allow negativity to enter into you, it will bounce off of you to become a source to hurt others. Don't do it. Negativity is a very real thing. We live, unfortunately, in a very negatively charged world today. And I don't mean positive and negative like in polarity. I mean good and evil. Right? We live in a very bad energy world today. And this is why I teach you all, very importantly, don't underestimate your own powers. The way that you neutralize negative energies with positive energy. I've shared with you in our previous lessons, and I share with you now in just a few seconds. Visualize yourselves as conduits of light, like a pipeline through which the divine light channels through you and from you into the entire universe. Not just goodness, love, kumbaya, but balance, harmony, and alignment with all the dimensional planes. Just project the light out there. If you want to use scripture verses or anything else, but visualize this actually happening. Put your hands out in front of you and visualize beams of light blasting out of you into the universe. Like visualize the Milky Way galaxy, and you're bathing it with the polarity and alignment with the worlds. If you're familiar with deeper Kabbalistic insights, this is again what I teach in the Pillar of Fire Qigong meditation. To align the worlds that in Kabbalah we call Atzilut with Biri'ah, with Yitzirah, with Asiyah, uniting the names which we call in Kabbalah Ab, Sag, Ma, and Ben. To align, to bring everything in the state of proper polarity. This is how we neutralize negative energy. You are the conduit. You contribute to the positive. If you have negative energy coming your way, take it in, become a washing machine, clean it up, project it out, negativity. Don't project negative onto anybody. Project only balance and harmony, alignment. God will take care of the details of how it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to happen. But know that everything in the universe is energy. You are energy. Every cell in your body is energy. Every cell in your soul is energy. Contemplate and understand energy. Visualize, meditate upon energy. Learn to sense the fields of energies in which we all interact with. And learn the harmony, the dance, the ballet of existence and life. Bring harmony and peace to the universe. This is what it means to give Nahat Ruach, pleasure, to our Creator. This is the greatest gift and blessing that you could bring to the universe, the greatest accomplishment of mitzvot that we can do. Pray be God that we do it. Thank you for joining me all for this class. I'm your host, Ariel Tzadok. Come see me online at KosherTorah.com. God bless. Good night. Shalom. 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 Good night. Shalom.